In terms of moving forward into that pivot phase, what are some of the things? So these are some observations. This is from some of my reading with McKinsey and research that they've been doing. Distances back. So for those of you that can reflect back on the 1990s, you'll remember that the global boundaries we were basically a borderless society. Technology was enabling us to do business and communicate across borders. Travel became the normal, like we would travel internationally, and certainly as I was growing up, that was a bit of a privilege and very expensive. But now it's a common thing. Younger people have been travelling. It's much easier to get around, and even some of the borders have made it a lot easier for it to come back. The issue now with this pandemic, what it's highlighted, is the weaknesses in that model. So you're getting now borders closed, and you're getting supply chain issues. So if you've been relying on product coming out of China and you've been running a just-in-time inventory type situation, and you're running out of stock, then that's going to cause some major issues if you're trying to play in a market and you've got no stock to supply it. So there is a move here towards these borders dealing more locally. We've got one client who has been requested by his client to start to look for local manufacture. And he was telling me earlier that he's been able to enable that. He's got a couple of local manufacturers, and his client is paying 40% more, but prepared to do that. Now, they obviously need the product at this point, so there is an extreme circumstance, but the reality is that people will learn through this past experience that potentially they will want more local supply. So that might impact on how we're doing things going forward. Resilience and efficiency are also important. Now, one of the things that we learned out of the GFC that happened in 2008 was there was this dichotomy of businesses. Some came out of it very poorly, others came out of the gates really, really fast and successfully. And one of the things that came up in the research that McKinsey had done was that the ones that came out very well were the ones that acted fast. They took action, and they took action quickly, and they were able to build on their success very, very quickly and start to leave a few people behind. So I think one of the lessons there is make sure as we're doing a lot of the strategic planning that I'm talking about, and we've identified the priorities, that we do act fast and we do it quickly. Contact-free economy, there's going to be some legacy for this. We're seeing people now doing home deliveries and they're contactless deliveries. So I know where I live here, the people who are delivering are not allowed to come inside the building. We've got to go out and do that. And it's, these days, a lot of the stores are preferring no cash. They're asking us to pay with cards. So there's a lot more of that sort of activity, and that's going to have a legacy as well as we go forward. We're getting more and more government intervention in the economy. So, there's been some extreme handouts, initiatives that have been taken by the Australian government, like literally never before seen different handouts that they're doing. So what that's going to create going forward is potentially governments who are going to have to, recover that money going forward, having more scrutiny and having more involvement in the business. So in some of the countries, it will probably get to a point where they may even nationalise some of the different things, industries that they've got. So there is going to be some impact from governments. Having now done the handouts, there is going to be a legacy to that. So we as businesses need to expect that, and we need to be ready for that. There's also going to be more scrutiny for business per se, particularly coming from the younger ones or the public, because many businesses now post this pandemic are going to be operating with some public funding. And, the public, whose taxpayers' money it is that's being used, are going to have more say, or potentially want to have more say in the way that's being done. So, I think that's something that we just need to be ready for. And, millennials, particularly the younger generation coming through, are certainly very, very well equipped and well versed around a lot of these things. So expect to get more scrutiny coming through as the way we're conducting our businesses. And that's where, for me, again, having a business with purpose and living to that purpose and providing that value is something that the younger generation particularly attached to, and making that difference. We will see a lot of changing industry structures, consumer behaviours. I've talked about some of those already. One of the things that I've seen, though, coming out of it is the likes of, an example we've got here in Australia is where Woolies, Coles and Aldi, when stocks were becoming a problem getting to stores, they collaborated together with the logistics of transport to make sure the product got to market. Now, that has some implications in terms of industry structures, how the logistics is managed and run. All those people have their own distribution centres at the moment. Potentially they're going to be more cooperative and collaborative as they go forward. Consumer behaviours, obviously we're doing a lot more online shopping. So people potentially will realise through this experience that it's not so bad to do that. So you're going to see some behaviour shifts come through that. And the last point I want to make here is the silver linings. And the silver linings could come in the form of business opportunity, but I think the other silver lining for me is that people here are getting reconnected back with some of their own core values, personal core values. So I feel like this pandemic has been a bit of a wake-up call, and it's helping people understand what's truly important. And one of the silver linings I see going forward is people wanting to have a little bit more involvement and time out with some of those things. So we've talked a lot about work-life balance in the past. I think that's going to be certainly in the spotlight going forward. And the last thing I want to leave you with is this saying. There's not a lot of optimism around at the moment. It's a bit hard to find, but optimism, the people who want to stand above all of this and remain optimistic, optimism is the true moral courage. It takes courage to stand up in these types of environments and lead. And we're very, very keen for everybody to be optimistic and know that we're going to get through this. It will pass, and we are going to come out the other side of this very, very successfully. And we look forward to helping you continue your pathway through all of this.